I was explaining to my friend from Germany how I literally cannot afford my rent.
People are charging $1,000 a month to rent rooms.
Gen Zs are out of the game.
There is quite literally a permanent underclass forming. It's like joining a game of Monopoly.
Hey, New York, how's your rent freeze going over there?
Also, apartments are already falling apart and acting like the rent freeze somehow is gonna like cut into.
It's a whole bunch of folk. No, like dead ass. How are y'all surviving on change?
Food outbreaks, y'all goddamn lettuce. You can't even eat the lettuce no more. You're gonna get sick and die. Nobody can find a job. Everybody broke sales.
Why can't regular Americans afford a home?
The average person in the state of Florida spends 37% of their income on rent.
Apparently in Atlanta, it would take 5 minimum wage workers to pay rent for a 1-bedroom.
I know there's a rent crisis going on. I know that rent is high everywhere, but I didn't know that rent is high everywhere.
Millions of Americans are doing everything they can, working every day, paying bill, trying to stay ahead. But somehow the system is knocking a lot of people down. Is America creating a generation underclass? You guys let me know down below the comment if you've been feeling like you've been down under the class, like poverty. And if you are new here, do me a favor, smash the subscribe button and like and share. And don't forget to hype me up. All right.
I was explaining to my friend from Germany how I literally cannot afford my rent. And he was like, but you live in Ohio. Ohio is cheap, isn't it? I was like, well, it used to be. And he was like, but you have a second job, right? I thought that the second job was like for fun and stuff, like for extra money, like to save and stuff. What? He was so shocked that 2 jobs doesn't cover the cost of living, even in Ohio. But I thought that the MAGA Republicans said that everything was going to be cheaper if Trump won. No, but you know, it'd be an awesome use of money, another useless war in the Middle East.
Now, not to be alarmist or anything, but there is quite literally a permanent underclass forming. It's like joining a game of Monopoly on hour 3.5 when there's 2 players left and they own every damn square on the board. And they all have hotels on them. Because what are you talking about? 5 years ago was $2,000 a month for the same house that today is $4,500 a month in mortgage payments. This is unsustainable. 99.5% of the US population is going to be in a permanent underclass where they're going to rent everything and not own literally anything. So that's the trajectory we're currently on.
Gen Zs are out of the game. Millennials are largely out of the game. Take a look at the percentage of people who are renting versus buying, and it's probably near an all-time low, or post-war low anyway, post-World War II low. And if you want to know what happens permanently, take a look at California. Because in California, if you took out the people who didn't inherit their home, probably 70% rent. Where in Arizona, up till recently, it was almost 2/3 who owned rather than rented. So it's completely a different vibe, different thing entirely.
Apparently in Atlanta, it would take 5 minimum wage workers to pay rent for a 1-bedroom. Not 5 1-bedrooms, 1-bedroom. People blame themselves for not being able to afford basic needs, but really it's our elected officials that we need to be holding accountable for this. I'm trying to build a community of creators who wants to spread awareness about this on TikTok, so if you're interested, DM me local.
People are charging $1,000 a month to rent rooms in their home. $1,000 a month to rent a room. Bro, what the fuck we gonna do? The cost of living has gotten out of hand, and y'all buy a house, man. Everybody that I know that owns a house tells me don't buy no fucking house. They hate that shit. Between property taxes going the fuck up, insurance going the fuck up, niggas having to fix roofs. Is that what it is? Having to fix their roof and shit. Everybody I know that got a goddamn house tell me don't buy no goddamn house. They say at least you call a maintenance man. But dead ass, what the fuck we gonna do about the rising cost of living? Because what you mean you charging people $1,000? You got 3 rooms in your house, you're charging them $1,000 for somebody to come live there. This shit is sad. Like, my son gonna be an adult in the next couple of years. He's gonna graduate from high school and be an adult. And this is the world he has to live in? The fuck? I guess I need... shit is weird.
Hey, New York, how's your rent freeze going over there? Mom Donnie doing you a solid, ain't he? Fucking dumbasses. Y'all thought the rent freeze was gonna save you? Made shit worse. quickly. That's what you get when you vote for a Democratic Socialist, though. So have fun with just rent control, because I'm gonna be down here in Georgia living my best life, paying $2,000 less for 3,000 square foot house than you pay for a lousy 500 square foot apartment.
Does anyone else think the amount of people in Instagram comments and TikTok comments defending like landlords after this rent freeze in New York City is weird? Because I think these people like miss the point entirely. Like, we don't want a class of landlords to just exist living passively on like the income of others. And also, apartments are already falling apart, and acting like the rent freeze somehow is gonna like cut into their margins or like their maintenance budget so apartments will be destroyed. It's like, bro, they were already slumps. Like, there's no way that a rent freeze is gonna like, they're like, oh, we can't maintain it now. Like, you were already not maintaining it, my brother. Like, it's a slum now, it'll be a slum at the rent freeze. But at least like the tenants will not be paying more rent to live in a slum. And like the immediate benefit of like not having a rent increase is going to help so many people that don't make a ton of money to like survive. So I'm all for the rent freeze, and landlord defenders cry harder, because I don't care.
Everyone keeps talking about a strong American economy, so why can't regular Americans afford a home? House prices are high, mortgage rates are high, and in many places there simply are not enough homes. Young families are stuck renting. Older homeowners are afraid to sell because the next mortgage could cost them twice as much. Politicians promise more housing. Banks promise better rates. Builders promise new supply. But families are still sitting at the kitchen table doing the math and realizing they cannot afford the American dream. So tell me, is homeownership still a realistic goal, or has it become a luxury for people who already own property?
The average person in the state of Florida spends 37% of their income on rent, more than any other state in the country. And yet we have so many developers throughout Florida trying to convince the public that this is great, right? That all the development going on is great. It signifies progress. Everyone's doing great. The Florida economy is booming, blah, blah, blah. Someone that they interviewed for this article said, hey, I'm married. We have a 2-bedroom that costs $3,000 a month. So yeah, pretty expensive. They also interviewed an analyst that said, if you go to a city like Chicago, they've got places where you can lock into a certain rent price, and that's something that's not available in Florida. There's no requirement for just cause eviction, no limit on rent increase, very few restrictions on fees in general. They can charge you whatever they want to charge you based on the market price. And people get so mad at me, so mad, calling me, oh bro, tú eres un comunista, bro. Go to California or go to Mamdanistan if you hate it here so much. When I say that, yes, rent prices in places like New York City, LA, San Francisco, may be more expensive on average. But when you factor in all the issues we have in Florida, it might be more expensive to live here. When you factor in the lack of employment opportunities here, the lack of any meaningful industries, the fact that unemployment is soaring in Florida, the fact that people get paid terribly here, that wages are on the floor in Florida. When you compare the same jobs to other states where people get paid much better, the overall cost of living, insurance rates on anything, home, auto, are typically more expensive here than elsewhere in the country. So many factors. It's like you're paying a penalty to live here in Florida, honestly. And if we're talking about Miami, ni digamos. And when it comes to tenants/renters, virtually no rights are given to you in Florida. Landlords and developers have the law on their side 100%. For example, did you guys know that in Florida, a landlord is not obligated by law to provide AC, air conditioning, in their units? They don't have to do that. They can have a unit without AC during the blistering hot, disgusting Florida summer. And if you're asking what our politicians, what our government officials are doing to address any of those issues, well, Governor Ron DeSantis is focusing on banning first cousin marriages, because that is the biggest priority that we have in Florida right now to solve. Oh, here's another nice stat to get all these Miami bros, Proud Boys really mad, right? The rental vacancy rate in Florida is 7.6%. And I always talk about that with all these developments throughout the city, Brickell, Wynwood, so many places that are empty because no one can afford to live there. But don't worry, guys, Ron DeSantis is on it. He's banning cousins from being married. It's all good.
I don't even know what to say anymore because I'm just so frustrated and defeated. These companies are trying to squeeze every last cent, every last dollar out of all of us. I got my utility bill from Georgia Power recently, and it was $210. Mind you, I live by myself, and these lights that are off, that's how it usually is in my household. I have my air conditioner above these recommended 72 degrees, and that still has not made it go down. When I got the first bill from Georgia Power, it was $76. It is now $210. Yes, I understand the summer and it's going to go up, but not so much that I'm paying over $200 in a one-bedroom apartment. And even though I work from home and I have another job, like I have worked from home since I moved here, and $76 to $200 is insane. And mind you, I'm barely here because of my second job. The Lord gave us all this stuff for free, and now I'm paying these companies so that they can line their pockets. I'm sick of it. And Georgia Power, count your days.
I think I've discovered that I'm stupid because tell me why. I didn't realize, like, I know there's a rent crisis going on. I know that rent is high everywhere, but I didn't know that rent is high everywhere. Okay, let me explain. So, for the majority of my adult life, I've lived in very high cost of living areas. I live on the West Coast, and I lived in Seattle most recently. And like obviously those places are expensive to live, but you also get paid a higher wage. Like the town I lived in before, I'm pretty sure the minimum wage is like $19 an hour, and then in Seattle the minimum wage is $21 an hour, plus change, but around there. So I was like, okay, yeah, sure, a one-bedroom apartment here is $1,600, but that's only because minimum wage is so high. I didn't realize $1,600 apartments are everywhere. Because now I'm in Michigan visiting my family, mid-Michigan, not even Detroit, not even a suburb of Detroit, like, no one fucking lives here. And one of my friends just moved, and her apartment is $1,500. But minimum wage here is only $13 an hour. I didn't realize, like, I figured, like, yeah, I knew rent was expensive, but I figured if your minimum wage is only $13 an hour, surely your apartments kind of reflect that. Like, yeah, they're still expensive, but I thought it would sort of be in alignment with a $13 minimum wage. Why the fuck is living in mid-Michigan the same rent as living in Seattle, Washington? Am I stupid for not realizing that? Has everyone known this? I didn't know that rent was literally the same everywhere. I thought it varied based on costs and wages. What the fuck? And then I saw a stupid man post recently, and he was like, people just want to live in coastal cities, and they don't realize, like, they can get a house elsewhere for, look at all these properties I found for less than $100K. Like, you don't need to live in coastal cities. The houses that were less than $100K were located in Flint, Michigan. That's the point you're trying to make? Flint, Michigan? You think people are going to choose Flint, Michigan over a coastal city? So then I'm thinking, well, if rent in Bay City, Michigan is the same as coastal Washington, why the fuck would I not live in coastal Washington? Why the fuck would I choose a city in the middle of nowhere, a city in the Midwest? Not even a city, a fucking town. When I could choose a city that's on the coast, that's beautiful, that's more liberal, that's better in many different ways, if rent is going to be the same fucking thing and I'm making so much more money there. Like, it's still expensive. Not that it, like, evens out, because it is still, like, Seattle prices are insane. But I just cannot, I didn't realize until very recently that this is what the rent crisis actually means. I was like, oh, apartments here are probably, what, $800, $1,000? No, they are the fucking same. They're the same as they are in the coastal cities. So why would I not choose a coastal city? Why is it the same as a coastal city? Why? Like, I know rent is expensive for no reason all the time. Like, I get that. But this really, I'm, like, actually wondering about, because that truly makes no sense to me. Am I stupid? Did everybody else know this? Because I've only ever paid rent in high cost of living coastal cities. So how was I supposed to know? But also, damn. How the fuck are people literally paying rent? How are people getting by? I'm gonna drive myself.
My rent is $22.50. $22.50. So I'm ready to move. Point blank period. So I inquired about a rental property not too far from me that's being rented by a private landlord, but a real estate agent that's running everything. So as soon as I hit her up, first question, baby, how much is the rent? How much is the rent? She say $2,700. Mind you, the property is similar to mine. It's newer than mine, but it's similar to mine. Same square footage, same amount of rooms, bathrooms, whatever. Baby, I'm not interested because I'm literally trying to save money, not spend more money. So now she's trying to, get me to move to this property. Of course, that's her job. And so I'm like, girl, like I already paid $2,250. I don't want to pay $2,700. Like, what? In what reality would I do that? I'm just gonna say where the hell I'm at. I'm just gonna sign another lease. I'm not gonna move. She's like, oh, so what's your target, girl? Less than $2,250. She's told me the unit has been vacant for a while and the owner is really trying to get it rented. Girl, not for $2,700. They not trying to rent shit for $2,700. Like, god damn, let's be fucking for real. She talk about how low you want to go, girl. Less than $2,250, less than $2,000 at this point. $2,700 is not an option.
Adults in Pennsylvania can afford to move out, and it's not because they're lazy. It's the economy falling apart right here in Pennsylvania, right here in America. Across the state, over a third of young adults are still living with their parents, and a vast majority of them are working full-time. So that whole "they just don't want to work" argument is dead. Like, people are working full-time and they still can't afford rent, high grocery bills, and just everyday basic life necessities. Personally, my rent has been increased like twice already this year. We need to admit that we have a problem. Like, local wages are not matching up with the skyrocketing cost of living in Pennsylvania.
Bro, and I literally had to humble myself because I thought we was mad because we only had $200 to $300 at the end of the month after we done paid everything. Bro, my last video, y'all is dropping screenshots of literal change in y'all bank account. And it's like everybody, not a certain generation, certain age group. It's a whole bunch of folks. No, like dead ass, how are y'all surviving on change? And some of y'all negative. Like, what? And I'm not even making this to like be funny. I'm just like so shocked at how bad it is because it's not what I was thinking at all. I'ma stop fucking complaining.
Hey, Pookie Bears. So right now, the economy is basically saying that $20 an hour is livable or $22 an hour is livable. I do not agree. We need more. We need more, babes. $3,200 before taxes, $3,000, probably $2,998 after taxes is not livable. It's not livable, bro. I'm in Florida where a one-bedroom apartment is $1,900. So you have $1,000 remaining. Let's say you got car insurance, that's $200. Let's say you got light bill, that's $200. Let's say you got water bill, $150. Baby, you got about $600 left, $550 left. You gotta feed yourself. You gotta have, if you have an animal, life insurance monthly about $60 to $100. Like, how are you guys doing right now? Because right now I'm about to crash out. I think my frontal lobe just developed. I just turned 25. But $20 an hour is not enough, babes. We need 50.
Food outbreaks, got goddamn lettuce. You can't even eat the lettuce no more. You're gonna get sick and die. Nobody can find a job. Everybody broke as hell. Young adults have no more third spaces. Cars are hella expensive. Education is hella expensive. Goddamn everything in the world is hella expensive. And you say this to the average old person, and they're just like, hey man, you need to work harder. How about you move to Iowa or some shit and buy a house in the middle of nowhere with no fucking jobs? Why the fuck would I do that? I hate when I see old people say you should move somewhere where nobody lives to buy a cheap house. Who the fuck would have lived in Montana? Nigga, who the fuck want to live in the middle of Iowa or some shit?
People think homelessness is about bad choices. It's not. It's about math. And here's what nobody talks about. Rent goes up every year. Jobs don't. Your landlord can raise the rent to $200 to $300, but your job gives you a 25-cent raise and call it growth. Now add real life. You get sick, your hours get cut, your job switches schedules, or someone in your family dies. That's not irresponsibility. That's life. Rent doesn't pause when life happens. And landlords don't care why you're short. To them, late is late. And once you miss 1 month, it snowballs. People don't lose housing because they were lazy. People lose housing because the system assumes that nothing will ever go wrong. And that's not reality. This is why housing is never the first problem. It's what collapses after something breaks. Homelessness doesn't start on the street. It starts long before that. This housing crisis is a real thing. I walk every morning in my complex, and every week almost I see people have been evicted. And where it used to be that there were places that provided resources for families going through financial hardships, a lot of these people have been depleted of their funds because that's just how many people are in need right now. So you can't even get help like you used to when you can't afford to pay your rent because of whatever factors, because everybody's situation is not the same. But the main problem is people are not being paid enough to live a sustainable life. Like you have to have a two-person income to sustain a livable situation where you're not struggling, where you're not, you know, paying robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's just it's so sad. There is just no way in 2026 the minimum wage should be $7.25. Don't know which jobs are paying that, but the fact that there are jobs that pay that, it's ridiculous. And for some people that's their only option. And even $20 in 2026 is not sufficient to live a sustainable lifestyle. And this is not even my regular content, but I was on my walk this morning and saw two other people that had, their stuff was out on the curb. And a lot of us are not far removed from that. We're not mad enough. We're not mad enough.
Is this underclass in this country? I agree. They're like 40% of the country, I think,
could not absorb a
like
$400 $400
or something like that. Yes.
expense. So think of the anxiety that you would feel all the time.
I agree.
To live with that. So we need to attack it on the level of cost. That's why we should have universal health care. That's why we should have tuition-free college and tech school. We should have those things which are given to the citizens of every other advanced democracy, including those, like you said, the hybrid economy with capitalism, with socialist elements, so that you are taking care of
let's not pretend that we don't already have a lot of socialism.
Well, we have the police department is basically a socialist.
Social Security?
Yeah, which came from the Socialist Party.
Okay, Medicare.
But it's not Medicare for all.
Unemployment.
It's Medicare. It's not Medicare for all.
Well, Obamacare is getting very close to Medicare for all.
We still have 85 million Americans who are underinsured or uninsured. And you have to be really kind of buffered emotionally if you think 85 million people does not matter.
Remember when Donald Trump promised the American people there would be no new wars? Well, here we are, 5 months into a war with Iran. But I've got one question for every working family in America. How are your pockets? Are your groceries any cheaper? Is your rent any lower? Did your electric bill go down? Can you finally afford a home? Because while politicians in Washington keep finding money for war, working people are still trying to figure out how to pay for eggs, gas, and childcare. The people I talk to every single day aren't asking for more conflict overseas. They're asking for affordable health care, lower costs, better paying jobs, and a government that fights for them. That's what leadership should look like. It's time that we started investing in the American people instead of asking them to keep paying the price while Washington plays politics. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.
The United States is in over $39 trillion in debt. Every second, the number climbs by tens of thousands of dollars. For each citizen, there's $115,000 in debt. That's double the average salary. But what does this actually mean? And how does a country get this deep without collapsing? And who is the US even borrowing from? For starters, debt isn't just money you owe. It's the engine modern economies run on. Governments borrow to build roads, fund programs, stabilize markets, pay interest, everything. When the US borrows money, it doesn't go to a bank. It's sells treasury bonds, IOUs to investors, countries, banks, and even regular people. Japan, China, pension funds, and American citizens all hold pieces of US debt. Right now, the US owes more than the entire GDP of the country. The last time that happened was World War II, which made sense. And the debt is getting worse because the government spends more money than it collects. And interest stacked on top puts us in a deficit. That's why the debt clock never stops. But the weirdest thing is that US debt is considered one of the safest assets on earth. The entire world is betting trillions that the United States never breaks it.
It's happening. Apple just got a $2.2 billion tariff check from the United States in the form of our taxes. Walmart got $10 billion, Costco, Target, and Home Depot got $2 billion each. Where's your check? Where's your tariff refund? This is a fucking nightmare because the tariffs have been implemented illegally and they had to be rolled back. The Trump regime created $100 billion in profit for corporations. They passed down all their costs onto the American consumers, which we got fucked over twice. The first time when we had to pay increased prices when the tariffs were in effect. And now we get fucked again because the money that is being given to these corporations in the form of tariff refunds and tariff rebates are our tax dollars. So we paid the corporations twice to fill up their pockets. Meanwhile, we saw nothing. Meanwhile, the American workers got put at the bottom again. We got screwed over. We got scammed. And I'm not going to let you forget that one of the billionaires currently installed in US government, Howard Lutnick, who's the US Secretary of Commerce, made hundreds of millions of dollars buying shorts against the tariffs. He bet that the tariffs would be found illegal and they would be refunded. They would be refunded into the corporation's pockets. Working American families are ruled by the most corrupt government in modern history that continually lies and gaslights us about their crimes and abuses against us every single fucking day. You can follow me on my Substack to keep up my work. My name's Guy Christensen. Thank you very much.
There's a poll that dropped today that said that 95% of Americans, not 95% of Democrats, 95% of Americans believe that there's an affordability crisis in this country, and that 2/3 of the country believe that, including 50% of Republicans, that the federal government's not doing enough on this. So Donald Trump can get up there and say all he wants, that there's great love in the room and that there's amazing unity, but this is not going to help him with these voters come election. And the thing that I'm really paying attention to is their own spending is the thing that's really telling you that there's a problem here. Because if you're dropping $28 million from a super PAC aligned with the Senate Majority Leader, the Republicans, into Ohio, $11 million into Iowa at this point, $40 million into a state that Donald Trump won by double digits 2 years ago, spoiler alert, things are not going well.
The system is rigged against the American worker, and the American dream isn't available anymore to the American worker. You're working at a job where they're transducing your most valuable resource, your time on the planet, into a wage that's so low that it's not even worth your time. And then you're being taxed on it. And worse, they take half of it out before you ever get it, only to return it to you after taxes a year later as inflation has whittled it down. Then they actually take more out and put it into a so-called retirement fund that actually has zero tax benefit in your 401k. Then do you get the full value of your money? No, there's sales tax that goes against it. There's property taxes. And then with what we have left, they've conned us into watching media that tells us that we can have the dreams and the wealths of avarice if we just invest in a market that's designed to steal the money from us. Oh yes, and we're in a graduated tax system, which means the more money you make, the more you're taxed. Does this sound like there's some kind of wealth benefit in having a job in America?
Good morning, dears. I have often said that if I was in my 20s, I would live in my vehicle. I would be very successful doing that. The price of rent is so high now, a lot of people have to join forces, and multiple people need to live in a very small apartment. And that's happening. People are staying, young people are continuing living with their families. As long as they're helping out, I see no problem with that. This is at a breaking point, guys. They can't continue. The oligarchs cannot continue to raise prices and expect us to comply. We're going to have a revolution very soon. And I think that that's well deserved. Would you sleep in your car or your vehicle. If anything drastic happens where, for some reason, my living situation changes, I probably would, even at my age, 65. And I would be successful. I have no doubt. Talk to you later.
They say that the housing affordability crisis is a retirement crisis because if you cannot buy a house, it's hard to retire. Absolutely not. I do not understand Americans that want to retire in America. Take your 5 friends and you move to Italy and you rebuild an entire town that is abandoned. Prices of a house is like 50 grand, including the restoration. What the fuck are we talking about? Why do you want to retire next to a McDonald's? You might say, what about my grandkids? Bro, most of you are single. You think about grandkids, most of you are single. Here's the other thing. If your grandkids know that they can spend their summer vacation in Italy, that's honestly way cooler. Honestly, retire in Italy, help your kids to get a beautiful house in America. You can go visit and help them out with their kids. Then they spend the summer vacation in Italy. Half of my family is in America, half of my family is in Italy. Parents do back and forth to see the grandkids. Summer vacation in Idaho. Fuck no, get a plane and go to Italy. I want to retire in a farm in Italy. Sounds way better than a farm in the middle of nowhere in America. It's cheaper, less taxes, more services, public health care. If you're middle class and you want to retire in the States, you should really go to a psychiatrist, in my opinion.
Cambridge is one of the wealthiest cities in the region, but so many of us cannot afford to get by here.
Rents are skyrocketing, families are being displaced, and many live in uninhabitable conditions, struggling just to get by.
But what if there was a better way? Democratically run,
Publicly owned,
permanently affordable.
Social housing.
Kadeem!
Hiya.
How are you?
I'm great, just thinking about social housing.
You want to talk about it?
Let's do it.
We need to support more affordable housing production by creating a social housing revolving loan fund and invest more in affordable housing trusts.
Yeah, definitely. And to protect renters with stronger rights, rent control, wraparound services, and a rental registry.
I will advocate for Cambridge to invest big, in minimum of $50 million to build homes that stay affordable forever for working people, families, and everyone in between.
Everyone should be able to live in a safe, dignified home that meets their needs. What are some other ways we can do that?
We can do that by fighting to expand the municipal voucher program, build more affordable housing, and open a new shelter that treats people with dignity through services.
I totally agree. We also need more ways to create affordable housing stock.
And we need to do that by supporting our Cambridge Community Land Trust so that we have more people power in housing and defend keeping at least 20% inclusionary zoning because affordable housing